Hi everybody, welcome to our 5.1 lecture video where we are learning about reading and writing decimal numbers. So the first thing that we're going to do in example 1 is just identify place values of numbers. So we did place values back in chapter 1 and those haven't changed. We still have the units, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, and 100 millions. But this chapter we're going to introduce decimals. So here's my decimal point. 1 place over from the decimal is called the tenths place. 2 over from that decimal is the hundredths place. 3 from the decimal is the thousandths place. And 4 from the decimal is called the 10,000ths place. So we're just going to identify each place value of this number, 147.0673. So I'm going to write it over here so we can just see where everything is. So 1, 4, 7. Here's my decimal place, and then there's a 0, a 6, a 7, and a 3. Alright. So, let's see here. What is in the tens place? That's example A. So here's my tens place. So the number that's in my tens place would be the 4. 4 is in the tens place. In part B, it says, what's in the tenths place? Notice that TH there. So those are after the decimal. Here's the tenths place. Is 1 decimal place after the decimal point. So that would be our 0 here. What's in the ones place? Well, the ones is another word for the units place right here. So the ones place would be our 7. And what's in the 10,000ths place? So 10,000ths is right over here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 places from the decimal, and that's where our 3 is. Okay? Next step, just writing decimals in words. So we're going to start out with decimals, with digits, with numbers, and we're going to write those in words so that we know how to say these decimal numbers. So what you do is you're going to write the whole number in words, and we've done that in chapter 1, and that hasn't changed. So the whole part is the part before the decimal place. For the decimal, you use the word and. That's why we haven't used and before now, because it's very specific. It actually means the decimal place. And then what you're going to do is you're going to write the decimal part in words as if it was a whole number, followed by the place value of that last digit. So let's try some. My first one, the whole part of it, before the decimal, is 187. So I'm going to write that out. Then we have a decimal point. For the decimal, we use the word and. After the decimal place is this 0.3. So if I were just writing that as a regular number, 0.3 would just be the word 3. And then I need the place value. So 1 decimal place over is the tenths place. 2 decimal places would be the hundredths place, so it's and 3 hundredths. Okay, so 187 and 3 hundredths is that word. Let's try another one. The next one, the whole part before the decimal is 5.2, which would be 52. Then we have a decimal point. Do you guys remember which word we use for the decimal? It's the word and. After the decimal place, I have 1085. So if I just saw that number by itself, I would say that's 1085. So I'm going to write that. And then I need what place value we get to. So this is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So we have 4 decimal places after the decimal point. So that'll be the 10,000ths place. So in words, this number is 52 and 1085 10,000ths. Are you guys about ready to try one? The only difference here is it's negative, and you just put a negative before everything else. You write the word negative, okay? So I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own. And I will give you the answer here in 3, 2, 1. This one is -5 and 37 thousandths. How'd you all do? So before the decimal place is a -5, so we write -5. For the decimal place, you should have an and. After the decimal place, 037 is 37. And we have 3 decimal places after that decimal point, which would be the thousandths place. Alright, now let's go backwards. So the next example, we start out in words, and we're going to write it as a decimal number. So in example A, we have 12 and 6/100ths. So 12, I know what that is. That has a 1 and a 2. The word and is my decimal point. Then we have 6/100ths. So hundredths is 2 decimal places over.
Nikita, break during lunchtime.
Alright, so we have 2 decimal places afterwards, and then I need to fit in the number 6. So do you think I'm going to put the 6 first or the 6 second? If I put 60, that would be 60/100ths. If I put 06, that would be 6/100ths. So I like to put these little lines underneath so then I know how many decimal places I have, and it helps me know what kind of zeros I need before them, okay? So this would be 12.06. Okay, I'll let you guys try the next one. We have 254 and 72 thousandths. So go ahead and pause your video and see if you can write that one as a decimal number, and I will give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. You should have 254 decimal point 072. So that's 254. The and is your decimal. Then we have the number 72, and it's in the thousandths place. So thousandths is 3 decimal places over. How'd you do? Great. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to write decimals as fractions or mixed numbers. So I know that you feel like we just finished the fraction chapter, but we're going to relate them to decimals too. So we're not really done with fractions, or at least not all the way done with them. Okay? So to write decimal numbers as mixed numbers, which is most likely what you're going to do, anything before the decimal place, so that whole part, is the whole part of your mixed number. Okay? Anything that's after that decimal point becomes a fraction. And what you're going to do is you're going to write the entire number that's after the decimal over the denominator that goes with that place value. Okay, so if you have only one decimal point, you would put it that goes to the tenths place, so you would put it over 10. If you have 2 decimal points, you would put it over 100. If you have 3 decimal places, you put it over 1,000. If you have 4 decimal places, you put it over 10,000. And if you have 5 decimal places, you would put it over 100,000, and so on. Okay? So that's what you do, is you put it over these denominators that go with their that go with the place values. A little shortcut for you, if you get confused, you have exactly as many zeros as you have decimal places. So 1 decimal place over has 1 0 for 10. 2 decimal places over has 2 zeros for 100. 3 decimal places over has 3 zeros over for 1,000, and so on. Once you get it as a fraction, just simplify your fraction if you can. So let's try a few of these. Example A, I have 0.15. So there's nothing before my decimal on the whole part. So I'm not going to really have a whole part of my mixed number. I'm actually going to have a nice proper fraction. So after the decimal, I have 1/5, so that's 15. For the denominator, it's 2 place values over, so that would be over 100 to start out. Then you simplify if you can, so 15 and 100 are both divisible by 5, so I'll go ahead and do that. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 100 divided by 5 would be 20. And that's it as a fraction. So 0.15 is 3/20ths as a fraction. If you ever want to check yourself in your calculator, you could always do 3 divided by 20 and make sure it actually equals 0.15 if you want to check your work. Let's do another one. We've got 64.8. So this one has a whole part. The whole part is 64. And then it has a 0.8, so the decimal part, the 0.8 is going to become our fraction. So after the decimal is an 8. That 8 is in the tenths place. We only have one decimal place past the decimal, so it'll be over 10. Then I can simplify the fraction. You don't simplify the whole number. It's still going to be 64 no matter what you do. But the fraction, the 8/10ths, you can simplify. 8 and 10 are both divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 and divide by 2. So like I said, it'll still have a 64 as the whole part. But 8/10ths simplifies to 4/5. So that's our final answer, is 64 and 4/5. If you want to put that in your calculator, I would probably just work on this 4/5. It should be 4 divided by 5 will give you 0.8. And then the 64 should match, okay? Last one, I'll let you guys have one to try here. I know it's negative. You just put it as a negative whole number, okay? So pause your video really quick and go ahead and try that one. And I'll give you the answer here. In 3, 2, 1. You should have -2/9. And then you should start out with 924 over 1,000. And then that simplifies, because you can actually divide by 4 and divide by 4. That'll simplify to -209 and 231 over 250. Okay? Good luck with these. Have a great week, guys.